Let's draw some flowers. We're going to start with a tiger lily. First, I want you to imagine, when we're drawing the petals to flowers, I want you to imagine that they are like a ribbon. So if you drew a ribbon, they're flat. You could even come curve it around like that. Just imagine that each of these petals flat like this. You can add your shading if you want, but we're not going to worry too much about that right now. I just want you to imagine your ribbon. It's a flat ribbon. So now we'll add a petal that's kind of overlapping and hanging in front of it's overlapping and hanging down towards you. Draw another one over here. Very simple ribbon, overlapping. Now you could add some more the other way. Add another one over here. So you can add a little bit of shading underneath. I want you to keep this in mind when you're trying to draw your petals. Now, from there, all we would do is just go and change the shape to them to whatever it is, to whatever shape it is that those petals look like. Some are pointy, almost like a leaf. Some will be fatter, kind of like this. But just keep that in mind when you're drawing your flowers. Just a basic ribbon. Start simple and add our details at the end. Okay, now using that same method, we're going to create some of those ribbons. I've got my little reference photo up, but we're going to draw a really cool looking tiger lily. Here's my ribbon, my first ribbon. I'm just going to overlap just a little bit like that. Now over here we're going to add another one. Correct that just a little bit. Here's my next ribbon. Draw another one coming from this direction. Draw another big one. This one's going to jump right in front of this one. Overlap like that. This one's going to be back behind it. Another ribbon. We'll do one more ribbon over here like this. Now we've got the basic shape of our tiger lilies drawn out using the ribbon method. So from this point we're going to add our little, not sure what these are called, but we're going to add these little details in our tiger lily. I'm sure there's somebody out there in the comments that's going to know exactly what these are called, and they'll probably tell us. Now here's the part where we can start to add some of the shape. We're going to change the shape of each of these ribbons or each of these petals. Or this is where we start to correct the shape of them and just kind of change it to make it look a little bit more like a flower. So right here I notice they tend to curve in a little bit. They kind of curve in towards the seam of the flower. Now I'm going to make these a little bit wider on the side and get thinner in the middle, and then bring that up just a little bit. And we can erase those original guidelines we had. Now we've got a more realistic shape to that petal. Go and add some more over here. We're going to thicken that up just a little bit and bring this to a point. Kind of cut that off. Just like that. I'm going to bring this down, make it a little bit wider towards the center. Except this one, I'm going to curve down in the center. Just make them a little bit wider towards the base and thinner towards the tips. This one over. This one, we're not going to have it overlap underneath, just like that. I think that's fine. Work on this one. Bring it around like that, and you could erase all your guidelines as you go, or when you get done with the outline. Now we have a more realistic shape of each of the petals using the ribbon method, and we can add some more details. I'm going to start by coloring all of these little saucers in really dark. And let's see. And then we'll erase a little bit here and there. Okay, we've got those started. Now we're going to add with our B pencil, your number 2 pencil, we're going to start adding some of the shading and some of the detail. So I'm going to add it a little bit darker towards the top and get lighter and lighter. And notice I am using the side of my pencil, but these lines all kind of point towards the tip right here. Once we get that done, we're going to grab our blending stump or a tortillon, and you can smudge that around to blend it a little bit so it's doesn't have so much of the grainy paper showing through. Now I'm going to grab a really dark pencil. This one is a 7B. That's where I'm going to add my really dark highlights, or my really dark shadows. I'll add a couple little details. I'm going to smudge that a little bit more with my blending stump. And I know it doesn't look like much yet, but give me a second and this is really gonna pop. With a really dark pencil, I'm using a 7B. I'm gonna add my little tiger lily freckles. That's what I call them. I don't know if that's what their technical name is. I'm gonna add these little freckles. You can see they're almost like a line, but or like a small skinny oval. Not too many on the outside out here, but we want it to be kind of sporadic and random grouping of them. I'd start out with not too many, because you could always go back and add more if you need to. Now with my B pencil, I'm going to start adding some of the detail to this side, this little petal over here. Use the side of my pencil. It's going to start darker in the center. Just get lighter and lighter as I pull that graphite kind of to the edge. Do the same thing on this side. Now I can go with my really dark pencil and start adding some of those tiger lily freckles. Let's clean this up just a little bit. Now I'm going back and forth between a B pencil and my 7B pencil. 7B is going to be much darker, and B is going to be kind of my midtones and the basic start to my shading. Add a little bit of shading there. We'll blend it with my blending stump. You could use a finger to do this, or a Q-tip, or whatever you've got handy. I like to use a blending stump though, because when I get it on my fingers, so a lot of times I'll smudge my artwork, and that really is not ideal. Okay, now I can add my little dots and start adding some more of those details into this petal. And we'll jump over here with my B pencil. I'm just going to shade all of this, and then I'll go back and erase those areas I need to for these little stem guys poking out, or for those highlights. Now I'll grab my 7B pencil and start adding those little dots, little tiger lily dots. Make sure I go and erase I'm going to go back to my B pencil. I'm going to shade some of the bottom part of this petal. Add some of the texture in that petal using the side of my pencil so it's not too hard. Blend that, and then underneath. And make sure you have a nice sharp pencil. So you get those real fine details. A couple more up here. We'll go back to our B pencil. We'll start adding some of that shading. Trying to follow the contour line here and here. We're going to try to follow that direction when we do the shading. Even if you could barely see it, those little subtle contour lines will help make it look a little bit more realistic and show the shape of it a little bit more. Even after we blend it with our blending stump. I'll go back to our 7B. I could add some of those darker lines and darker contour lines, and all of our little tiger lily freckles. That's going to be a new thing. That's what we're going to call them. Now, if you wanted, you could go, depending on the look, you could thicken up your outlines if you'd like. I like to make mine definitely, they'll be smooth, but definitely kind of bumpy, if that makes sense. Smooth and bumpy. You don't want them perfect. I don't like the shape of this petal here. Needs to come down like this more. There we go. This will just make it stand out a little bit more. And then you could go back and clean up all of your lines and add some more shading. And some more of those details. You kind of touch everything up. Now here's another little trick. If you just want to smudge all of those petals after all that work, if you want to, here's another little trick to use all of these midtones over the entire flower, so there's no white anywhere. This is kind of what I like to do after the fact. After I get my gray tones down, I'll grab my fine tip eraser and just go and erase some of those highlights, especially along the edges of each of these petals. And you can kind of blend it in a little bit too, but and when you do that, when you put these little highlights like this, it starts to make it stand out a little bit and look pretty, in my opinion, it looks pretty cool. Go along the edges, along the tip like this. And you can bring a couple, just one or two, back towards the center. Bring a couple down towards the center like that. Now this one will really pop. Got that highlight on the edges. Now if you want to go and add your stem, we'll add a couple of leaves using that same method. Here's our ribbon. Then we'll just add a little point so it looks like a leaf. And then clean it up. We'll do one more over here. Here's our ribbon shape. And we'll just trim that into our point, and then erase those guidelines. I got a couple little points here and there. We'll start, and then we'll shade in our leaves. Make it a little bit darker here on the inside. Lighter and lighter up towards the top. Right under here it's going to be a little darker. Let's make one side of that leaf a little bit darker. Grab our blending stump. Smooth out everything we did to get that gray tone, or that gray wash, or that mid-tone. So now we're just going to grab our 7B pencil and just go over that outline a little bit more. A little darker. For the stem too. There we go. And then if you want to grab your eraser, you can make a little highlight on the top of that leaf. And even down the crease a little bit. Hopefully this all makes sense and you're able to use a ribbon trick to make your flower drawings look a little bit more realistic. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.